that person in a nice, respectful way, or to befriend that person and make them feel welcome and comfortable. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into our guest speaker today. So we have Miss Ann, who is going to be speaking with us. She has been on, I think, almost every mat chat that we've had, even though she has to get on from work. So I really appreciate her always being on here. I'm gonna read a little bio that she sent me. So you guys have a little bit of background. Who knows Miss Ann? Most of us know her and love her. Yeah, I think everyone knows her. She's an awesome martial artist. She is, we've used her as an example a lot recently because she is in the middle of her master's test. So if you guys don't know, testing for 4th degree and master's, it's like a minimum of 20 years of training before you can get there, pretty close to that. And it's a 2-year test. So think about it. Think about anything you guys have done right now. Maybe you're like, oh man, I don't get to do my gut test in person. I was so looking forward to that. I've been working for it for 3 months. Well, she's been working towards this test for about 20 years. And she was told they canceled it. They canceled the master's clinic. So for her, she finished her first year and this was her 2nd year. So she was going to finish her test this year and then receive her promotion. And they pushed it out a year, and that's hard. So I know my heart goes out to everyone who was supposed to test for their black belts this time. But as you guys know, that master's test is way, way above what a black belt test means. And that shows incredible perseverance and dedication to training, to just be like, okay. And her and some of the other candidates, again, a certain amount of dedication that this shows, they've gotten together and they've done candidate trainings. So they're all getting together on Zoom and practicing because they need to stay ready and on top of it and prepared for the next test. So they need to, I know for you guys testing for black belts, you guys were on your game, you were in shape, you were ready to go, and you're having to push it out 2 months, which is hard because you've got to keep up your cardio, keep up your classes, all of that kind of stuff for a couple months. She has to do it for probably a whole nother year. So I'm going to go ahead and read her bio. She received her bachelor's in science in biology in 1992, her MED in secondary education in 1994. She had several short-term jobs until they settled in Jacksonville. And then she's been in Tapestry for 13 plus years. She leads a team of 7, but has managed projects with up to 120 people. She started training in 2005 at the age of 35. So I love that she is on here, and I love that Mr. Borlée is on here. And even Master Lappin, Master Lappin started training when she was like 18 years old. But then we have Miss Ann started when she was 35. I think Mr. Borlée said he was 28 when he started training. There is nothing that says you have to be a child to start training, or you have to be under 30 years old to start training, or anything like that. You can start training at any time and still make it to these goals of master's belt and things like that. So I love that she's on here talking to you guys. Now, if you asked any of those guys, do they wish they had the opportunity to start training at 4 years old? What would you say, Miss Ann? Yeah.
Probably yes.
Yeah, because then it's easier to learn things at that age. You know, it gives you a little bit of a head start. But you're never too old to start training and to reach new goals, to set new goals for yourself and reach new goals. Okay, she received her Chodan in 2009, her Idan in 2011, and then her Samdan in 2014. She has held regional positions of judging coordinator and treasurer. And that's a big thing too. We only have, there's only a couple regional positions. There's regional director, which as most of you guys know is Master Hutchinson. There's the regional treasurer, which is Miss Ann. She also handles all of the judging for the region. And there's the regional secretary, which is me. And do we have any other positions in the in the region? That's it, right? Regional director is the other big one. But so that's, and think about, you know, those are people who are, myself, Master Hutchinson is a 5th degree master. So for Miss Ann's position is awesome. And she's done really well with it. She's been the best treasurer we've had. Okay. She also helps us run black belt camps. So she does a lot for us in Middleburg Martial Arts and a lot for the WTSDA family and for our region. She loves teaching at Middleburg Martial Arts, and I'm going to quote her on this. And as strict as I may seem to some, it makes my heart full. And that I think is so true for all of us, especially those of us who are strict. I know I have been called strict once or twice. And you know, that doesn't mean because you have a strict instructor, when somebody gets onto you, when your parents get onto you, when they correct you, when they discipline you, it's because they care and they want you to be better. If I don't care how you are as a martial artist, I'm not going to correct anything. I'm just going to say, good job, and give you a pat on the back. If I care and I want you to be better and to do better, then I'm going to work with you and I'm going to tell you, you need to fix this. And I know Miss Anna is very similar to me, and she does care deeply about all of our students. Okay, so she does all that. She does a lot for the region, for the association, for our school, on top of her full-time job in management. So she's a perfect example of commitment to martial arts and of leadership. So thank you so much, Miss Ann, for agreeing to talk with everybody today. We really appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go into those questions that you guys have all heard before. So
I probably should have been paying attention, right?
Yeah, I know, you would have had all the All right, so my first question for you.
Master Luton?
Yes.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? Because I do have to get off and get on that other conference call, unfortunately, and I'll watch this later. But Miss Bono has also been very, very active in the Parents Club. I didn't hear you say that. But that's kind of the glue that keeps the parents together and the studio together and everything else. So I wanted to acknowledge her for that and just for being here. Thank you very much, Ann. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry I have to get off.
I understand. Thank you.
All right, so Miss Ann, how did the Black Belt leadership training at Middleburg Martial Arts help you in your career?
In my career, good question. Before I started training, I had minimal leadership. I did have some leadership, but it was all here, lead, basically, you know, someone telling you to do that. The leadership from Middleburg Martial Arts, even though I started probably when I was higher rank, I can't remember when I started, Mara might know, just listening to the gold meetings, to the things like the mat chats. It's these little extra things, not necessarily the curriculum, that sunk in with me. And more than anything, it pointed out where I needed to work on. Some of the things you talked about today are things I struggle with. Judging people, I've gotten better about keeping, like, not saying things, but I'll think things and I'm thinking, you know, and then I'll take a step back and say, no, I really don't know. But there were times when I wouldn't. There were times before when I would say some of the things that maybe that other parent said. But I don't do that like that anymore. I catch myself, you know, so I'm learning. So even if you're an accomplished leader, you are always learning, you are always getting better. There are always ways you can improve, but it doesn't mean you're a bad leader. It means you're still growing.
Yeah, thank you. That was very well said. I'm going to kind of modify this. So with that being said, how would you describe yourself when you started training versus yourself when you got your black belt, after you received your black belt?
When I started training, I was there as a family activity. I started after Mara started, but probably about halfway through is when I realized I would stick with it because I loved it. It increased my discipline because at 35, I didn't have a lot. Okay. You know, some people, most of you on here are well ahead of where I was because you're learning that self-discipline and some of the other things, the tenets and the codes, you take those to heart much before age 35. And while I wasn't a bad person, I had a lot of room to grow. So by the time I got to black belt, I felt I was a more, I don't even know how to explain it. I felt like I was a better person, and it had nothing to do with the skills I had learned. So not that that was a bad thing either. Those are integral, of course, to being a martial artist, being defend yourself and do the techniques and everything. But just being a better person was my biggest accomplishment, I think.
Yeah, well, that's huge. That's kind of what I was saying today too. Martial arts, getting into nominated for masters or leadership isn't about being perfect, but about getting to that point, recognizing that I can better myself, that I can do better, I can be better, and putting yourself in a position where you are trying to be that way. And that's what makes a good leader. And you know, there are leaders who are successful who don't put others before themselves, but good leaders put other people before themselves and recognize that they are not perfect. They give other people the credit when they achieve something, and sometimes they take the blame when their subordinates do something wrong. And that's all part of leadership, is recognizing that you can better see yourself as a person. Good. Okay. How would you say that your leadership training at Middleburg Martial Arts helped you as a parent?
Wow, it wasn't that. That's one you haven't asked for yet, I don't think.
It's not, but it's a good one, because I know I've seen that so much in myself. And you know, one of the questions on here was in school, but you were out of school already. You already had your degree before you started training. But there are so many things that we learn as martial artists that affect the way we handle other people in every area. And so I think as a parent, that's a big one. So yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's kind of stumped me. I'm looking at my daughter right now. She's on here. And I'm wondering if she has any thoughts. I don't know if I got maybe a little more calm after I started martial arts or not, or just maybe took things. I mean, there are still times when I get upset, obviously, and just kind of go off my rocker every once in a while. But I don't know if the martial arts has gotten me to a point where I can stop and think and be calm when situations arise. I don't know. I would love to hear what Mara has to say, actually. She's raising her hand.
Mara, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So I think doing martial arts with your parent is just the best thing ever, because when you're at the studio, it's that parent-child dynamic kind of shifts away and you're just students together. So there's so you're equals, so you can talk to each other, you can understand each other. Some of our best conversations have happened on the car rides home after martial arts, because we can talk to each other in such an open way. And when I was a teenager, you would hear all your friends like, oh, I had this disagreement with my mom and she didn't understand me. And I never felt like that, because we were just always communicating.
Mm-hmm. That's
that
nice.
You know, that is huge. And I've never really thought about it like that, but I have that, you know, obviously have that exact same thing with my family, with a lot of my family members that have trained. I mean, we say it all the time, it's such a bonding experience. You go to tournaments together, you belt test together, and you guys did belt test together. A lot of your belt tests were together, your big ones were together. And that's a huge bonding experience. But what really makes it a bonding experience is that you guys go to a mat chat and we talk about not judging people. And then you have a conversation about it. And it sparks conversations like that. You guys talk about the class you just took and how good of a workout you had. And it sparks a conversation. And it's something for you guys to bond with each other, connect with each other, talk about your struggles with each other, talk about your successes with each other, that a lot of times, especially in the teenage years, parents and kids don't have that, because there's so many differences. But to have something like martial arts bonding them together, you know, that's a really big thing. Good. So thank you, Mara, for adding to that. I appreciate that. All right, Miss Ann, what would you say is the most important thing you benefited from your black belt leadership training?
Leadership through service, I think. Before martial arts, I never really thought about leadership. To me, leaders and managers were the same before martial arts, and I obviously think different now. I have to serve my team at work. I have to serve my class at karate. I am there to help them, not to help me. I'm there to make them better, technically, emotionally, you know, physical fitness. Everything. I'm there to make their life better, and I'm there to make my teams better here at Tapestry as well. I had a person today who is moving on to a different shift because it's a better opportunity from him. And I didn't say, you know, I'm mad at you. I said, congratulations, you know, this is great for you. This is going to keep him from having to get a second job or something, you know, so you have to be there for that other person. And that's not really something I considered before this, but serving, even though I wanted to be a teacher, I went to school to be a teacher and I love teaching, but I did it because I loved it, not necessarily because I wanted to, like, I don't think it was really ingrained in me to make other people's lives better, to really do that. But that's my biggest thing. So leadership through service.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. A piece of martial arts, as you get higher in the belts, it increasingly becomes more about servitude. And that's, you see a lot of people who don't get that, and they don't make it. They don't make it to black belt. They don't, because they're like, why do I have to commit all of this time to martial arts? Why do I have to do this? And like, because that's how you become a black belt, period, point blank. I'm not going to waive it for you. Sorry. You don't want to do it, you don't have to. But that in master's camp, when you're a candidate, the theme of the whole master's clinic is servitude. You have senior instructors, 6th degree black masters, 7th degree masters, teaching you and devoting their time. I didn't even think about this until the end of the second year, and I was like, wow, this person came all the way to Alabama from San Diego, and she sacrificed her entire master's clinic, where she could have been training and working with all of these people, to teach the candidates. That's servitude. And there is not a single master I have ever met who doesn't fully understand that concept of servitude. There are black belts I've met who don't get it quite yet, because you're just starting in that. You know, the black belt, the meaning of the black belt part of it is the end of one life cycle and the beginning of the next. And that, I think, is the biggest part of it. The biggest new life cycle is that cycle of servitude. And that becomes greater and greater as you go up in the ranks. It's always funny and I know you've seen this, I think we've laughed about it, at black belt camp. We have a rule at our regional black belt camp that the masters eat first, right? So everyone's kind of sitting there waiting for the masters to eat, but all the masters have this mentality of servitude. So they're like, they feel guilty eating before anybody else. They don't like it. So they're all kind of hesitant to go up there and get food. They let people go before them and stuff like that. And it's always funny because everyone tries to do this like as a symbol of respect and let them go first, but they have that mentality of servitude ingrained in their bones, and they have a hard time going first. So that's a huge thing. And that's a part of parenting too, that a lot of people just naturally develop. But I know for me, training before I became a parent, I had those things, and I've fallen back on those things and related to so much of my martial arts training through parenting. Okay, my last question. So we actually have some members on today that are in the similar boat as you are, that are families, parents training with their families, parents over the age of 30 who are considering making the commitment to black belt and to leadership training. So what would you tell a student or a parent who's considering making that commitment to black belt leadership training?
One, there's nothing else like it. And it's not always easy. I know there are struggles because it's a time commitment, it's a financial commitment, it is a mental commitment. The benefits far outweigh any of the struggles you may have. I know it may not be a struggle for everybody, but in one of those ways, it was a struggle for me. Just the benefits that I've seen in my children and do with them. I have to, like I said, I have to be a better person because they're learning to be better people and they're looking at me. And I am the ultimate role model, not just on the mat, but at school or at home, everywhere I go. And it's something I have to think about. But like I said, the benefits far outweigh. I mean, if you're on the fence for any reason, don't just dismiss it. If you think you can't afford it, don't just dismiss it. Think about it. Talk to the studio. If you think that it's too much of a time commitment, look at the students we've had on this past week. 15 years old, getting 4.2s and teaching classes. It can be done. And I just would hate to see anybody pass up that opportunity, because it is an opportunity, and not just from an adult, but from the kids and the adults together. So as an adult, I have gained so much. I can't imagine my life without it at this point. It is a way of life. And things that you teach in the leadership program, I hear the same things when I go to church. I hear the same things at work. It may be worded a little bit differently, but it's the same kind of way of life. So I just don't dismiss it off the cuff when they ask you if you want to be in leaders. Really sit down and talk about it as a family. Go in and talk to the instructors. you've seen that we all want the best for all of you, whether you're 4 or whether you're, 40 or 50. I love seeing the adults on here and the families on here. I wish there were more. I know there's parents listening, so I really wish those parents would step on the mat. I first stepped on the mat at the anniversary party in August with my daughter at Earn Your White Belt class. I earned my white belt, and I walked out after signing up. I signed up that day. Never thought I really would have done that, but I'm like, oh, why not? I can do it with Mara, and then, it was fun. So I guess that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. And is there anything you want to say about leadership to these guys?
My biggest thing, I think I already said, is just remember that leadership is a service. And if you want to lead people well, you have to consider other people's needs. Leadership isn't about your needs. It is about the institution's needs. So your studio, your region, your world, and the students. And the students make up all 3 of those. So they come first. So the students come first, and it's a positive feeling in many, many ways. It's many positive feelings you get from doing that, from helping someone. I posted on Miss Katie's thing of the day the other day when you had the parents write paragraphs, and I'm like practically crying reading all those things. It was incredible. It's like, that's like I said, it makes my heart full to see how people have improved. And that was only a small portion of our students. So I know we touch people. I know we make a difference. And I know there's a few that maybe we can't reach, but for the most part, it's so worth it. And there's no better feeling. There's other instructors on here today and other black belts on here today. I see Miss Maya. I know Cora's on here. I can't remember who else I saw. Kalia's a black belt. Mara, Katie, Miss Becky. So they know what I'm talking about. And I think they'd all probably say the same thing to you, is don't stop, keep going. It's just a wonderful feeling. I don't know how you could not want to do it.
Thank you very much, Miss Ann.
Yep.
And I really appreciate you getting up and talking in front of everybody. And I know everybody enjoyed that. That was great. So let's all unmute ourselves and say Kamaksimnida. Thank you, Miss Ann.
Kamaksimnida, Miss Ann.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone have any quick questions for Miss Ann? And then we will do stars. Any quick questions? Okay. Any quick questions?
Katie.
Katie has a question?
She has her hand up.
I don't see her. Go ahead, Katie. I don't know where you are, but go ahead.
Miss Ann, I just wanted to say thank you, because I know you being at every black belt workout with me, and when I was struggling, you're like, you can do it, you've got this, and you shared your story with me, and I feel like I can relate with you a whole lot on the struggle that both you and I have, and I just wanted to say thank you so much.
You are welcome.
All right, Miss Skylar, go ahead.
How old were you when you started?
I was 35 years old. I already had a 2-year-old son and a 6-year-old or 7-year-old daughter when I started.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Caleb, what's your question?
How old were you when you got your black belt?
39, about, maybe. I think maybe 39 or something like that. It was maybe 38. I was 3.5 years. I didn't miss a test, which I was surprised at. I wasn't ready to test for my black belt, and Master Leppin said, "You're testing for your black belt." She goes, you're testing in the spring. I'm like, oh, yes, ma'am.
You're ready. All right, any other questions? Okay, I think that is it. Sometimes it's hard. We have so many people.
I just wanted to say thank you to Miss Ann for with the stuff that we need.
Who was that?
That was Lane.
That's who I thought it was, Lane. Thank you. You guys are always very respectful to me, and I appreciate that. And you're getting better and better, and I love seeing it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That progress and that growth makes it really is warms your heart a little bit. All right,
It does.
Brianna, what is your question?
I think it was like around in October when where I was testing for my green belt.
I can barely hear you.
Yep, go ahead one more time.
When I wasn't testing for my green belt yet, but when I was getting ready to test, I had a lot of private lessons with Miss Ann, and she taught me all the forms I needed to know and all the grabs, and I wouldn't be here without her. So thank you.
You're welcome. I love seeing you guys get better and better. You're awesome too. So, good lead. You're muted, Miss Rachel.
Does anybody else have a question for Miss Ann?